Welcome in, everybody, to episode 1, officially, of the Rain Delay podcast. I'm Biko, Skalla, the broadcast entertainer for the Savannah Bananas, of course, alongside Josh Talevski, our statistical savant of Banana Ball. We've got a doozy. We're completely changing how the podcast is done here on our second ever episode. We are diving into some controversy and a hodgepodge of issues at the end of the pod. It's going to be a real menagerie of sorts for the good people out there. Obviously, it's going to start with our soundboard actually working. Josh, hit those buttons, buddy.
Hey-oh! Oh! You like that?
That's sound effects right there.
Yeah, sound effects. We finally got them.
Well, I could hear them. I heard them on episode 0. This is now episode 1 of the Rain Delay podcast. But Chad, our incredible coordinating producer, has unmuted them, and hopefully the world can hear them. Or we're just doing the exact same thing that we did on episode 0. Once again, this is episode 1, much like college football. Our first episode was 0. There's a lot of ways we could start this podcast, Josh. I'm salivating at the plethora of ways we could start this podcast. You dropped a Garoppolo index, and that's set the internet ablaze. So that's out there. We're going to completely transform the way we do this podcast. So that's also out there for us. Where would you like to start, buddy? I think those are our two lowest hanging fruit.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter to me, but 400 impressions on X is pretty solid for the Garoppolo index. Thought about pinning it as my new tweet, but I thought better of it. You know, I got to give this thing time. It's got to marinate. It's got to make its way out to the public a little bit. I noticed you were a little unhappy about a couple things, though, which I don't really understand.
Yeah, okay, so we're starting with the Garoppolo index. And this is I'm just looking at it right now. I sent you a couple texts, then we said we should probably save this for the podcast. The glaring jump outs. And first of all, explain the Garoppolo index, because you've explained it to me probably double-digit times now, and I still can't fully wrap my brain around it, because it still angers me.
Okay, well, the best thing I can do is read it literally off the document itself and talk about the ground rules and the standards that we have applied. Okay.
Sure.
The Garoppolo Index, the ultimate tool in tier listing quarterbacks to apply numerical values to their production as well as individual skills and talents. With years of NFL red zone viewing, television set yelling, and occasional grinding of tape, the Garoppolo Index has become the world's gold standard of quantifying the most scrutinized position in sports. Named after former New England Patriots and San Francisco 49ers and now current Las Vegas Raiders quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo, our board of officials has determined that there is no better quarterback to serve as the standard of average than Jimmy G. A quarterback is either above, below, or on the Garoppolo line, which can be subject to change. The Garoppolo Index is not considered a power ranking. It rather assesses quarterbacks by combining current season performance, career performance, with greater emphasis on recent season value, statistics, accolades, skill sets, and an eye test to determine a quarterback's standings amongst his peers.
So the disconnect between the two of us is I put a lot less emphasis, even though I've read this and we've discussed it so many times, I put a lot less emphasis on the career accolades, which is why I have such a problem with Russell Wilson at number 11, one spot ahead of Tua Tagovailoa, who is having a better season by just about every stat you could possibly have. And I think if you ask any NFL expert, you would rather have Tua as the captain of your offense than Mr. Unlimited.
Well, hold on. Yeah, and you see, what is Tua's nickname, Biko? Does he even have one? No, we're talking about Mr. Unlimited. You know, this guy's got his own, well, he had his own Subway sandwich, of course, the Danger Witch, and I don't see Tua getting any kind of endorsement deals quite like Russell Wilson. And here's the thing, again, if you're going off of a simple power ranking, 2023 alone, yeah, I get wanting to put Tua Tagovailoa over Russell Wilson, but the index is more than that. It's not just it's in the description. It's not just a power ranking.
I know, but it's not just 2023. It's last year as well, where Russell was way worse. Right now, he's the 23rd quarterback in the NFL as far as QBR. He was 27th last year, and Tua has been in the top 10 in both instances. And that's enough for me. Like, I'm done with Russ. He's cooked, and Tua is incredibly accurate, and he's putting up way better stats in every category except for touchdowns and interceptions, which doesn't tell any kind of story.
You're so wrong. Russ is cooking. He ain't cooked. He's cooking, man. This is what he's known for.
His QBR is like 48. Tua's is like 65.
And you're going to tell me that you're telling me QBR is going to tell you everything you need to know about a quarterback?
No, but it has enough. Tua also has over 1,000 more passing yards. Like, there's completion percentages. There's a lot that goes into this.
Dude,
and there's the eye test. The eye test is in your description. The eye test tells me Tua is oodles better than Russell Wilson.
My eye test is telling me Russell Wilson's doing just fine, pal.
You need to get your eyes checked. First of all, they are traditionally, everybody knows this. Just tell your prescription to the world right now, and then we'll see if people believe your eye test.
Yeah, I use a -8 magnification. So by the government standards, that's pretty legally blind. I mean, I'm rendered useless if I have no visual aid and am trying to operate a vehicle.
Correct. Okay, so I think we're just going to continue to bang our heads into the wall with the Tua versus Russell Wilson. Jalen Hurts, I think, should be top 6. I'd put him ahead of Justin Herbert already. Kirk Cousins has won, like, what, one playoff game ever? Like, and so Jalen Hurts took his team to the Super Bowl last year. I mean, come on now.
You're bringing up playoff games, by the way. How many playoff games has Tua Tagovailoa won?
Well, he was concussed out of his mind last year, so he didn't have the opportunity to. But once again, I don't really care about 2021 in the past. Like, I know that somebody's proven, but he was a completely different player back then. It's, you know, anyhow. I mean, sure, he's got like 200 rushing yards this year. Okay. He's moving a little bit when we talk about Russell Wilson there. Okay, the only other real gripe I think I have when I look at it, Justin Fields, 25, that's fine. Jordan Love, 1 spot ahead of CJ Stroud. Can you possibly explain to me how Jordan Love is ahead of CJ Stroud on your mid-season Garoppolo index?
Look, I understand. I mean, on the preseason. No. Let me speak here, please. Patience, young Biko. The preseason list, Jordan Love's above CJ Stroud on that. There's no gripes whatsoever. And again, the index always hurts the rookie QBs in the preseason index because we've seen absolutely nothing out of them in the NFL. And going off of college numbers is completely ridiculous. It's just not going to help them. The NFL is a completely different league.
Okay,
as we've learned. So Jordan Love, I like the idea. I like the fact that this guy has been learning from Aaron Rodgers for a couple seasons. He's just been standing on the sidelines, holding the clipboard. I mean, look, you give a guy all this time to start to process and really learn an NFL system, and you've got to think that in a certain way that is aiding his ability on the field. But here's the thing. By the end of the season, there is a very realistic chance, I'm going to be upfront and honest about this, there's a very realistic chance CJ Stroud ends the season above Jordan Love on the Garoppolo index.
I understand the past and the lack of NFL experience in this, but this is the problem with Jordan Love versus CJ Stroud, is Jordan Love also lacks this. Like, he was up behind Aaron Rodgers. That seemed like a pretty adversarial relationship, by the way. I don't know how much Aaron Rodgers actually helped Jordan Love there when he was trying to keep his own job. The thing is, CJ Stroud has set all kinds of rookie records already, and Jordan Love has been horrendous. Like, he's actually been a terrible quarterback. I don't think CJ Stroud should be below Daniel Jones, my beloved Danny Dimes of the New York Giants at this point. And once again, sure, he won a playoff game against Kirk Cousins and the terrible Vikings, the biggest frauds in possibly NFL history as they were last year with all their 1-score game victories. But anyhow, we agreed to disagree. I think we could talk about the Garoppolo index for an entire podcast, but unless you have anything else you'd like to say here, I think we should probably move on to what is actually the biggest breaking news, in that we are completely changing the format of this podcast 2 episodes in. And this was your brainchild, with, of course, some some inspiration from podcasters that we love very much.
Yeah, that's correct. I think we had a great response from everybody about episode 0 of our podcast.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with how it turned out. It was a lot of fun for me. I know we all had a great time, but you said something on the podcast, the first episode, that was very interesting to me. And you were like, we come into this and we obviously prepare. We know what we want to talk about. And that was very true. I mean, you said nothing wrong there, but there was a degree to where a lot of it was definitely just stream of conscience. And there was a little bit where maybe, perhaps, we could have prepared a little more. And also, I keep thinking about, the best podcasts in the world following somewhat of a formula, if you will. And people know what they're getting out of a podcast every single time. It's hard to say with the way we did episode 0 what you're going to get out of the podcast every single time. But now we've undergone this format change. It hit me. Why don't we talk about every stop across the 2023 tour? We'll go city by city. We'll analyze it from our points of view, our favorite things that happened on the field, our favorite stories that happened off the field. Give listeners a much more intimate feel of something that they experienced, whether they were in person at the games or watching it, hopefully, on the BTV broadcast, which you can stream for free on YouTube.
Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful idea, and this is clearly what is right down our wheelhouse, if you ask me.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So obviously some inspiration comes from the Always Sunny podcast here, as they go back and they started with their first ever episode that gets racist. And they go through and kind of analyze their episodes, but also end up on a bajillion tangents. And as diehard Always Sunny fans, I mean, there's a reason why when we are giving away more than one Hoka, you have to go to your high-pitched voice here.
2 pairs of Hokas!
Thank you for that,
of course.
Josh. Yeah, so that's a reference to Dennis Reynolds when they have their podcast episode. Of course, they've been the soldier on, and Dennis finds out that there's not just one war that the United States is involved with, but
there's 2 wars.
Yeah, so just like Glenn. So anyhow, there's some inspiration there for sure, and I love the idea as well. Our coordinating producer Chad Reese put his stamp of approval on it, and this will give us a very nice backbone for how the podcast can go moving forward. It also means that we have to rev up our production of this podcast if we would like to get through the 2023 tour before the 2024 tour begins. That means 2 podcasts a week, not just one podcast, but
2 podcasts!
Exactly. And maybe even 3 podcasts a couple times. We did the mental math, but it should figure itself out by the time the tour kicks off on Thursday, February 8th in Tampa Bay, Florida, in George M. Steinbrenner Field this coming year. So, yeah, I'm fired up about that. And I think that means we have to get to the meat of this episode. But before we get to said meat of truly episode 1, I did not shout out Steve Kellogg for designing the logo for a podcast on episode 0, which I meant to do. Steve created that logo after a Lexington County, South Carolina baseball game between the Bananas and the Blowfish back in the summer of 2022 in your intern days, when we were on the whiteboard. And obviously, it ended up being torrential rain. We had the Rain Delay podcast, and Steve, in his legendary online skills and Photoshop ability, created the logo for what would then be, about a year and a half later, the Rain Delay podcast. So, Steve, thank you so much for that. It was perfect for when we decided in the future, about 18 months later, that we wanted to actually do it.
Well, I think it's always been something we've wanted to do. It's always been something in the back of our heads. And it's just a wonderful coincidence at this point, if you ask me. So, yes, again, a special, special thank you to Steve Kellogg.
Yes. Okay. So that brings us to West Palm Beach. And I think in general, we just kind of want to talk about some of our favorite moments on the field and off the field. and then see where that takes us. So I would love to start with Game 1 of the 2023 Banana Ball World Tour. The 32nd Banana Ball game ever to be played in front of fans, was the first and still the only game, 115 games in our Young Sports history later, to not have a sprint in it. Absolutely mind-boggling.
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, we did the math after the game, and I wish that I remembered that off the top of my head. But so rare that you see even Major League Baseball games that have no walks in them. It felt especially rare. It felt like we were on the cusp of greatness. Like, we could see this multiple times, which we really never did again, obviously. But it was very special, and I think when you think about wanting to see a leap from 2022 and the World Tour, the Summer Series, and into a 2023 World Tour that's supposed to span 87 games, not only are there no sprints allowed in the contest, but you get all 9 innings played, and then the final runtime of the game is 1 hour and 54 minutes.
Right. In a 9-inning game that has an incredible 9th inning. I'm also going to get in that in the future, but I'd love to hand the floor to you to what's the first thing that you would like to point us towards.
I think the first thing that comes to mind when I talk about West Palm Beach is Banana Ball evolved in a single weekend, and I don't even think we realized it going down. And I'll start with the bus ride, because I was up at school. I made the trek down to Savannah, stayed with you and Paula for the night, and then the next day we hop on the bus and everything. And as we're going down there, I'm showing you like the spreadsheet that we're putting together that's going to hold
shout
all
out
the Yes, correct. Justin Campos, and I believe I found it maybe on Baseball Almanac, but don't quote me on that. I was showing you the spreadsheet of all the things that we needed to track. I had obviously Frankensteined it a little bit, but we just realized as we continued to travel down to West Palm, there was so much more that needed to be added. And boy, did we just attack it like nobody's business. I mean, adding all the sprints, adding the big columns to be able to average an MPI per game, then monthly, and over the course of an entire season. It really changed the way that Banana Ball stats and the numbers and the stories that can be told through them over the course of the season.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that's something that we saw epically change and continue to evolve throughout the tour, as well as the game evolved and we added another rule, and now we will have another one coming into 2024 with the golden batter. And then you think about the absolute infusion of trick plays. There's a bajillion things that West Palm Beach marks the beginning of, and a changing of the guard for. And when you think of West Palm Beach, I now go to the first pitch that goes to Cooperstown. It's so full circle for us now that we have experienced Cooperstown, and seeing the opening of the exhibit and the tears from Jesse Cole as he sees something that is just absolutely mind-boggling, and he's obviously been the chief reason for it come to fruition. And it's really full circle. And I knew at the start of the tour that in the snap of our fingers, we would be in Cooperstown looking back at this whole thing and being like, whoa, that happened quickly. But it's really cool to go back and see Kyle Lewigs throw that first pitch, Jesse grab the ball, tell the crowd in the ballpark of the Palm Beaches that this was going to the Baseball Hall of Fame. And now that exhibit has been opened, and we have seen that very ball in the hallowed grounds of the Baseball Hall of Fame. So pretty mind-boggling.
And you've also got a scorecard in the Baseball Hall of Fame as well. Now, it's not from opening night, but from Game 2 in West Palm Beach. And that had to be, of course, a dream come true, I'd assume, for you.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely absurd. Like, I can't possibly wrap my mind around it. And that also is a testament to how amazing the whole weekend in West Palm Beach is that we had a historic night 1 in West Palm Beach, but night 2 was so amazing, and it had a foul ball caught by a fan off Ryan Cox, and it also had 3 rounds of showdowns and had a showdown chase. It had some of the elements of Banana Ball that we wanted folks to be able to look at a scorecard and see in the Hall of Fame, and kind of notice how it's actually being officially scored, the differences between baseball and banana ball, that it actually ended up being the scorecard that made the Baseball Hall of Fame, a Party Animals win at that. Yeah, so really cool. And you haven't seen it yet, but your scorecards from Cooperstown will be in the hall. I don't know if they are in the exhibit yet, but that is either to come or it's sitting in there right now, and we are none the wiser about it.
I'm thinking it's still to come. I actually signed the final forms to make sure that everything was squared away with the hall and gifting that to them. So I would expect it to hopefully be on display very soon, which means I definitely need to book another trip up to Cooperstown, not just to see that in the hall, but also because, and we'll get to this later on when we have our Cooperstown episode eventually. I definitely want to check out that town much more. Just seems so cool. All the shops, just not enough time to do all the things you want to. But we'll make it happen.
Oh yeah, I've bought hundreds of baseball cards in Cooperstown, but that is the luxury of growing up less than 2 hours away from it compared to, about 14 hours south of it in Georgia. Okay, back to you, Josh, for another in-game memory that is amazing to you.
So, I mean, we talked about the progression of the tour, the evolution of the tour, I guess, from the stats on the bus. Doing that in haste, staying up until, past midnight to make sure that spreadsheet could handle everything we needed it to across the first 2 games of the tour. And, of course, it just continued to evolve from there. But I think my perception of Banana Ball was radically changed after the very first game. And this is when I am still sideline reporting with you guys. I'm not even sharing the booth with you yet. So I'm down there in the camera well in the ballpark of the Palm Beaches. That's where I'm doing the sideline hits. That's where I've got the whiteboard set up. And when I am not with the whiteboard doing a hit, I'm literally just down on a knee against the railing with the score sheets, scoring the game, keeping track of all the statistics. And across that game, I just saw, I missed, obviously, the spring training and all the hard work the Bananas and Party Animals put into making sure that they would be game ready for West Palm Beach. But it's on full display when you look at opening night. Again, a game that is under 2 hours, and all of the guys in the box and on the mound are doing all the things you need them to do, working quick, not taking too long with walk-ups, and still acing the entertainment aspects, the signature walk-ups and what have you, and getting this game in on time. And it was so refreshing for me to see a 9-inning game played in its completion. It ends with these crazy walk-offs. The Party Animals took the lead because they got points in the top of the 9th inning against Dakota McFadden. And then the Bananas are down 2 going into the bottom of the 9th, rally for 3 runs, which all become 3 points, of course, and win the game against the Party Animals. It is literally absurd. And we saw the Bananas dominate so much against the Party Animals during the summer series. They won all 6 games. And you saw a much more competitive Party Animals team, even in game 1, despite the loss. And you saw such competitive balance. And I think that's when I really recognized this tour is going to be something special. I have got to see what is coming out of Banana Ball in 2023.
Oh yeah, I'd love to pounce on that because you have the pitcher's duel between Garrett Delano and Cowboy Kyle. Obviously, Delano, the first 2 months, was the best pitcher on the tour. He was truly incredible, right up there. Him and Danny Hosley were the 2 best. And then you have Bryson Bloomer hit the first home run of the tour. He gets his old Coastal Plain League champion teammate Jared Donaldson. And then you mentioned the 2-run rally for the Animals in the top of the 9th. It was a 2-2 game in points going into that inning. D-Mac takes the mound, who has actually had a pretty impressive pitching career in Banana Ball, especially when you go back to the One City World Tour. And Dalton Cornett, the first batter, takes Himbridge. And DC3 also started the tour blazing hot. He was the best hitter across the first couple weeks. So it was just so many legendary moments. And then you cap it off with the Noah Bridges 2-run double to tie it in the bottom of the 9th. And then Dalton Dalton Malden with his second of 2 walk-off doubles to win it. And Dalton had struggled in those 2 scrimmages. It kind of looked like possibly the talent level had reached a point where he's not really going to be able to hang with how impressive the Party Animals pitchers were on this tour. And then he goes 2 for 3 with 2 walk-off doubles. And this is just how amazing and why the two of us love baseball and banana ball so much, is that those were 2 of his 4 walk-offs on the entire tour. He plays 72 games in total. He has 102 at-bats in total, but in the 3 at-bats he had on opening night, he does strike out once, and he has 2 walk-off doubles, and you only see 2 more across the next 71 games that he's a part of. It's just, you can never predict these things. It's what makes it so beautiful.
Banana ball and baseball are weird games, and mind you, I mean, when you look at the end of the season numbers, Dalton Malden ropes these 2 doubles against Garrett Delano and Brett Helton, who both finish as above tour average pitchers. And, I mean, if you're submitting any kind of a Banana Ball Cy Young ballot, I would expect both of those guys in your top 5.
Oh, 100%. 100%. You could not argue against it. Josh, the next thing you'd like to point out, buddy.
And I hope I'm not taking this one from you, but, I mean, how can you not mention meeting Tim Kurkjian when you're in West Palm Beach before opening night? And it's surreal. I mean, we watched him. I know the both of us watched him growing up all the time on SportsCenter. It's this person you come to revere anytime ESPN needs their lead baseball informant. He's got all the news. He's got all the notes you need to know, whether it's from the trade deadline, whether it's leading up to Sunday Night Baseball, whatever it may be. And he's an encyclopedia. We literally got to witness it firsthand. And what's really crazy is we were informed Tim Kurkjian's coming to West Palm Beach. He's going to be there because he's staying in the same hotel as us, and he's been covering the Astros, who are the defending 2022 World Series champions. We're obviously playing in the spring training home of the Astros and the Nationals. So Kurkjian comes out, and I believe we were informed, correct me if I'm wrong, were we not told that we were going to be led out there to meet him in a sense? Like somebody like Jared Orton or Carson Bowen were going to come grab us and be like, hey, Tim Kurkjian's at the gate. Come and meet him and show him around here.
So the full Tim Kurkjian story is the only reason why we knew he was in West Palm Beach is because he ended up in the same elevator as Christian Dierman and Matt Malatesta. So first of all, it's just pure chance that they end up in the same elevator as him, and they're like, whoa, Tim Kurkjian, and he's got Bananas gear on. He's like, oh, you know, Savannah Bananas, you guys are here? And through the grapevine, I find out that Tim Kurkjian is here and in the same hotel as us. And I'm like, well, that's mind-boggling. We have to get him to the game. That's when I'm like, they didn't get a name, they didn't get a number or any contact information. So I reach out to Jeff Kurkjian, Tim's son, who is also a Syracuse University alumni and a guy who I did a radio story on for a class in my time at the Newhouse School, the SI Newhouse School, that would be, of public communications up in the Salt City. And so I reach out to Jeff. I'm like, hey, we just happen to be in the same hotel as your dad. We're kicking off our tour. I need him at the game. I'll do anything for you. And Jeff's like, I'm sure Dad would actually love to see this. So he connects the two of us. I end up getting Jesse Cole on Jeff Kurkjian's podcast as a little, quid pro quo there, which I would have been very happy to do either way. But it is a little, we help each other out. So all of a sudden, I get a call from a random number, and I pick up, and it's Tim Kurkjian's. It's his voice. And he says, hey, Biko, this is Tim. And I'm like, Tim Kurkjian. Wow. Sweet. So we planned out. I told him to tell me when he got to the gate and I would get him in. So that's what I was expecting is I expected him to tell me when he got in the parking lot, and I was going to come out and try and meet him, and I was going to pull him in. And then he just walks into our broadcast booth as the two of us are writing down broadcast notes. And he's like, Josh, Biko, and we turn around, and like, holy crap, it's Tim Kurkjian.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to, was we're sitting there, and we've got this downtime. We're obviously going through notes. I think I'm, like, working on the whiteboard or something, and I just remember being very reclined in the chair, and then all of a sudden this guy comes in, he's just like, what's up, guys? And I was just like, I'm pretty sure I very bluntly was just like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" thinking it was somebody we work with, and then I turned my chair around and was like, "Oh my God, Tim Kurkjian," and just got up and immediately went to shake his hand. Like, I felt so terrible that I had just, in a sense, I don't know, had zero energy greeting him and thought that it was just, it was like Chad or somebody who had walked in to talk to us about something.
Right. Which is hilarious because as soon as I heard the voice, I said, holy blank, that's Tim Kurkjian. Like, but it was a surprise. Like, it was a jump scare because I was waiting for a phone call that he was at the gate, but he just showed his MLB press pass and he walked right in and he owned the place because he's Tim Kurkjian. And then of course we get to chat with him, which is a dream for us, just getting to bump elbows with such a legend and someone who is so revered by us. And then we bring him down to the field. We end up being the in-between between him and Jesse Cole and Gillum and the players who are all dying to take pictures with him. And then Bill Lee, and you get to see Bill Lee chatting with Tim Kurkjian, which is hilarious because Tim knows as much about Major League Baseball as anybody in the world from 1979 to today. And of course, Bill Lee's career ended after 1982. So he knows so much about the spaceman. As much as we have studied him, he probably still knows more about Bill Lee than the two of us could ever imagine. So that was really cool. And then the lasting memory in my head, which then I saw again in episode 4 of Banana Land when we got to West Palm Beach, is Jesse giving us the big pump up, rah rah, first game of the tour speech. We're about to change the world. We're all getting fired up. And in the background of the shot, you can see the spaceman warming his left arm up. So that's wrong for everybody watching on YouTube. Warming his left arm up with the perfect sized rock, as he says, for just getting all his joints and muscles loose. And Tim Kurkjian right next to him as well, or in a row in front of him. So it's like just, it was one of those moments where when I was sitting there and I was listening to my fearless leader who I've been following for the last 4 years pump us up for the biggest battle of our lives, and then also just in the corner of my eye I see Bill Lee waving a rock around and Tim Kurkjian sitting right next to him, and I'm like, this is heaven. Like, this is, how did I end up here? Like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, why does Bill, like, what makes it the perfect rock? I'm still waiting on his expert analysis on why that rock, its size, the shape.
It's size and weight. It's size, weight, shape. Yeah, it's the combo, and I think weight more than anything.
Yeah, but even the matter, I mean, is it igneous? Is it sedimentary? I'm trying to figure out, like, which one of those rocks works best for Bill Lee.
It's definitely sedimentary. I don't know if that's the best in general, but I would guess so. They're a little denser than igneous rocks. My dad's a neuroscience teacher, so.
Yeah, I think I'm getting distracted by the rock. I think what I really want to know is like, I wasn't in the booth with you guys when you have Tim Kurkjian up during the broadcast. I mean, what are the memories that stick out with that? Is that the coolest guest that's ever been on a Bananas broadcast in your mind?
For me, personally, obviously, it's all subjective, and we've been blessed to have an insane experience with guests in the booth. But yeah, by the most special and the most incredible guest for me, by a long shot. Big time Timmy Slim Jim, Tim Kurkjian. And the clip that they also show in Banana Land episode 4 is the line that just absolutely killed me. And it killed me then, it kills me when I watch it again, when he says, well, Biko, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life, and I love it. It's like, I'm in heaven once again. Like, yeah, you can make this up, that this is how I get to experience. This was like the third inning. I'm pretty sure Dalton Malden walked off the third inning. This is the third inning of the tour, and I'm calling the game with Tim Kurkjian from what looked like to be some kind of dungeon, because we didn't have our step and repeat nor a flag or anything, which also adds to the hilarity of it all. But yeah, it's so cool. It's one of the coolest things that's ever happened in my life, and that's not hyperbole.
By the way, I want to recognize the fact that you got a pretty good Tim Kurkjian impression here. I like what you got going on.
I think spending time with Tim has really helped craft it. It's such a unique voice, and just about everybody in the industry has it, because it's kind of like Christopher Walken in a sense for the entertainment industry, where it's yeah, exactly. It's so gosh darn unique that everybody wants to take a crack at it. It's the low-hanging fruit of impressions in the baseball world. But now that I got to experience him, And I know he loves a good impression of himself. It's an honor that you enjoyed that as a brilliant baseball mind yourself.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. By the way, I can't do a Christopher Walken. I can only do like his sound effects, which is obviously like, oh, you know, you just got these weird little strange guy.
I'm gonna need more cowbell.
Oh,
yeah,
that's not bad.
4.5 maybe. I'd give myself 4.5 out of 10. Okay, terrific. Is there anything else? I mean, this was mostly night one that we have discussed and the madness of it, and then obviously we haven't even touched night two, which was dominated by the Bananas. And then all of a sudden, you get a 4-run comeback from the Party Animals of poor Matt Malatesta, who the Party Animals score 4 runs off him, and he doesn't even get an out. He does end up getting 3 outs and sends the game to showdowns. But that was also, once again, just like night one was, another testament to, oh my gosh, this Party Animals team, which we knew on paper was more talented than the Bananas, could be a very big problem on this tour.
Yeah, I think that was another honest key point that I kind of had going through the notes and thinking about what I wanted to talk about was seeing how legit the Party Animals were and that they were going to be a team that could score very, very easily. I mean, it was a great lineup then. We continue to see it get even better as the tour progressed. And you saw 4 trick plays in game 2. You saw a fan catch a foul ball for an out. You actually, I mean, this was kind of our first notice that, hey, the banana ball is a little bit different than a regular baseball. And seeing Matt Malatesta out there on the mound struggle, you'll learn that, like, for the splitter guys, him and Jared Donaldson, they're having to adjust to throwing this banana ball. It was very different. I think it had to do with the seams more than anything. I could be wrong, though. I also heard in general the ball, in a sense, was slick. Another thing that stands out about Game 2, though, is you play 9 innings, you play 3 rounds of showdowns, and are you familiar with the final end time of that ball game after all of those things were said and done?
Oh my gosh. 3 rounds of showdowns. I want to say 2 hours and 7 minutes.
You are spot on. That is remarkable.
Nice. Every once in a while I get lucky. You know.
Yeah, it was
some things stick in my brain. I probably actually, I was thinking 205 and I was like, no, I think it might have actually been 207. So I took a crack at it and I nailed it. That's a big win for Biko here on episode 1 of the podcast. Yeah, and you get your first showdown chase ever, which was also documented briefly in the Banana Land documentary, which I think I've gone on the record. If not, I will go on the record now as I think the most half-baked rule in all of Banana Ball, in that I personally, as a lifelong baseballer, it's tough for me to wrap my head around a hitter earning a sprint and then possibly being out because of it, which is what happened to Reese Hampton later on in the tour, and Danny Hosley was able to track him down. And you know, we had the confusion on, is it a flip? Is it a handoff? Where's the handoff have to be between the catcher and the pitcher? But I understand the hilarity of it and loved watching the creation of it in episode 3, I believe it was, of Banana Land season 2. But you know, I still to this day struggle with a batter being successful in the most important part of the entire game and then possibly being out for it, which I understand is the case in a sprint as well, but that's for a batter's choice. Like, they can always get one base. It's just if you want to be aggressive and try and grab another bag or two. Where in the sprint, or in the chase rather, you're going for home, and if the pitcher touches third, throws the ball to the catcher, and you're tagged out, you just had a great at-bat, and you're punished for it, which I continue to struggle with, and I've had many, many discussions with Jesse Cole about, and obviously our fearless leader continues to win all of those arguments.
I mean, when you look back at the second half of the 2023 tour, though, I can't remember a single showdown chase even happening. So for me, it's one of those things that I want to see more of it, I think, to form a greater opinion on the matter. I don't love it, but I'm also not against it at the same time at this current moment. So we'll see what happens about that. I mean, excluding showdowns, though, if there are no showdowns in Game 2, you, in theory, easily have 2 9-inning games that are in under 2 hours. And mind you, this is also where you see a huge leap and progression in terms of MPI, minutes per inning. DJ the Invader had a 1 minute and 34 second mark, and then at the time, Brett Helton had set the new record with 1 minute and 27 seconds.
Right, which we covered on episode 1. It turns out through your discovery in this offseason, actually tied Xavier Lindsay of the Catawba Valley Stars for the quickest inning of all time. So that's pretty hilarious. I would say it's a coming out party for Bryson Bloomer. We already mentioned the homer he had in game 1. He clears the bases in round 3 of showdowns in game 2. And then Brett Helton with his first huge moment of the tour after getting a 1-2-3 bottom of the 9th to send us to showdowns. He strikes out Dakota McFadden with the bases juiced in round 3 to even up the tour at a game of peace, which it would then be tied up again in March, but the Bananas would not lead the tour since opening night until the end of July in Rancho Cucamonga after they won night 2 there on the magnificent Ryan Cox trick play double play for his 99th trick play of the tour. And that's just how Banana Ball weaves its way through our lives. It continues to blow my mind every step of the way. So yeah, it was the greatest Banana Ball weekend ever. It's still, when I think about the entirety of the tour, we had some legendary stops. It is very tough to say that any one ballpark had, you put 2 games up against 2 games anywhere else on the tour, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better weekend of Banana Ball than in West Palm Beach.
No, I completely agree with you on that matter. I think Milwaukee was a little remarkable for some of the history that happened there, although it was a Party Animals dominated trip overall with all the trick plays, a couple other odd things that kind of happened, the first ever doubleheader. That's another one that kind of sticks out, but of course that was 3 games and not just 2. But I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah. So, okay. So we've done pretty good here. I think the last thing for me, and this might bring our coordinating producer, Chad Reese, in here a little bit, is just when I think about my experience off the field or when I was not broadcasting these games, I think a lot about the juxtaposition of 2022 in West Palm Beach, which was one of our last stops. I had a sprained ankle and a cracked bone in said ankle, so I had a walking boot the entire time. I remember driving to Guitar Center to get all kinds of cords we needed for West Palm Beach for stuff that was going out on us. We had to layer the entire stadium with SDI cables to bring up our broadcast, as we had to do on the entirety of the 2022 tour. And my fiance, Lauren, girlfriend then at the time, ran our high home camera, the most important camera in the entire broadcast. Lauren ran in 2022. So it's mind-boggling for me to then jump to this past year when we've got all of our live view equipment and we've got the control room in Savannah, and I am way more just focused on my on-air duties and less technical work. It's a world of difference, and I would love to hear, Chad, what your experience was like this year in West Palm Beach, and obviously comparing it to our wild journey there, our first time in 2022, it was a stark difference.
Oh yeah, I mean, when we got there, it was such a feeling of like, okay, we've been here before, we kind of know what to expect, but we've been through so much to where we have to make this the best that we know that it can be, because in between us being in West Palm Beach in 2022 and being there in 2023, I mean, we went through games on ESPN Plus, an entire CPL season, the 6-game summer series also on ESPN Plus, where we really pushed ourselves to make the highest production value show that we could. That was not only great coverage of the sport, but also a ton of fun. And guys, I'm not saying that might have been the most stressed of my entire life. I was a train wreck in West Palm Beach. I think you guys might remember me oversleeping on the first night and getting there day 1 at like 11 a.m. when everybody else got there at like 10.
I gotta be honest, I don't remember that at all.
I overslept, missed the bus. Luckily, our hotel wasn't that far, but I just decided, you know what? I'm going to just walk. Matt DeWitt offered to drive me in his RV, but I said, screw it. I'm walking like a mile to get to this ballpark because I need to like clear my head and like get in the zone and really like
AutoZone.
Focus on what's going on. And I got there. I got to the ballpark of the Palm Beaches. I was sweaty because I was thinking like, it's February. I'll wear a sweater. But now thinking I'm walking a mile in Florida heat. So I was sweating like crazy. I sit down, and I think I had also arrived late to a production meeting that we were supposed to have with Jesse and Jared, kind of like just talking about like the tone and the scope and what to expect from these shows. And I sat down, I apologized, and the first thing that Jesse said to me, and this rings in my head the entirety of the tour, I'm not joking. He said to me, "Are you in control?" And I was like,
yeah, I remember.
Oh, wow.
Damn right I'm in control. And from there, I think that things still went pretty good. I think that we still managed to do the best that we could with entering a completely new world. We changed up how we do our shows entirely.
Yes.
If people don't know, what used to be the entire show is done in person on site, to where most of the show is being produced remotely in Savannah. We still managed to put on the show the best that we could. And while it was horrifyingly stressful, and I was still like figuring out exactly what to do, I think I took control. So it was great. I had a great time at the end of this.
"Are you in control?" is such a legendary Jesse Cole line.
Dude, I'm not joking. I think about that all the time.
Yeah, it's good. It's a life lesson for you. Are you in control, Chad? And I would say 99.9% of the time you are in control.
Have you seen that in any dreams, Chad? You had any dreams and just Jesse Cole kind of comes to you and goes, "Hey, are you in control?"
Yeah, my sleep paralysis demon has asked me that a few times. He's looming over my bed.
Oh, man. Now,
It's
do
incredible.
you guys, by chance, remember the barbecue we had for lunch before Game 2?
Yeah, it was run by the Christians. I could never forget it. It was delicious.
Dude, it was amazing. Now, Biko, you remember spilling sauce all over my 2022 World Tour shirt?
Oh, yeah.
You were trying to just shake the bottle. You couldn't get the sauce out. Eventually, you squeezed. It went everywhere. You had it in my hair. You had it in my shirt. It stained the shirt. I still see the mustard stains in there.
It's really tough to get out. The Christian barbecue sauce if it's getting on your clothing, I mean, that's some holy stuff. It's probably gonna have to go to some kind of religious entity to get that thing fully cleaned.
Oh man, yeah, it was
so good.
That was
food
very
so
good. You remember the cookies?
Yeah. I would never forget the cookies. Come on, you're looking at me and you think I could possibly forget those cookies?
Those are the largest cookies I've ever seen in my life.
Those are so good, cookies.
Top five cookies on the tour. We had some amazing cookies. Other stops of the way. That's a top fiver for me, no doubt. And
Gotta
the food,
be honest.
the entirety. Yeah.
It's probably my number one.
Probably top three for me when I really think about it. But we had some crumble cookie, and we had some cookies in Hartford, Connecticut that were absolutely absurd. I mean, there's some. We'll bring Vavan Jesse in for a special cookie extravaganza 2023 tour cookies edition, and they'll be able to really give us the facts and numbers and ratings, because those are the two experts.
We've brought in our cookie experts, Mike Vivacis and Jesse Cole. Now, fellas, I mean, we're talking chocolate chip, we're talking oatmeal raisin, and maybe a little peanut butter snickerdoodle every now and then. What reigns supreme for you fellas?
I can't wait to find out. I don't have a Jesse nor a Vava impersonation, but we could also just bring in Jake Lialios. I'm sure he could impersonate both of them. And then, so either we bring in the two of them, or we just bring in Jake and have them impersonate Jesse and Vava. The options are limitless here, you know, because like we said, we're going to stick to our general structure. But if we want to get weird, we're going to get weird.
We can get weird.
I'm going to take a guess. I will put a prediction right now that I think I might know Jesse Cole's favorite cookie. And I think it was Trenton, New Jersey. I saw that man down like 10 cookies in Trenton, New Jersey, and still takes them home. And those were also my personal favorites.
Yeah, Trenton was good. I saw Jesse down over 10 cookies, probably on close to 10 different stops, because if they reach a certain echelon, just like Viro with beer, if his beer's 4.2 or better on his little app, that guy will go crazy with it. For Jesse, if it's above a 4.2 in his personal cookie scale, he will forego dinner and just eat cookies the entire time.
Why they call him Jesse Cookie Cole?
They do call him that. Okay, so I think we've handled West Palm Beach. The only other funny 2020, I have two more 2022 memories that just pop into my head real quickly because this is a repeat stop. Chad, I remember after both games playing you and I think maybe even Nick Keldy and or Griffin in Super Sluggers at like 3 a.m. I think that was the Saturday night 2022.
Yep. That was right after game 2 or game 1?
I think game 2 because it was ridiculously late.
Yeah.
And it was the Duke UNC game in the Final Four that we had sent Kurt or Carson to. That was a whole thing.
I think that is probably the most I have ever been just absolutely destroyed in it. I was so impressed by your Mario Slugger skills, Biko. I consider myself a gamer. And
correct.
I was just put on just completely floored. I brought the game. I brought everything. I so confidently invited you over to our room to play Super Mario Sluggers, and I think you beat me maybe like 13-1. I might have gotten a run across. That might have been in game 2, though. I think the first time it might have been like 18-0.
Yeah.
We're back.
That's a legendary memory for me, as well as in 2022, Lauren driving myself and Jared to I think like the Audi dealership because Jared had his car in the shop, and someone like just about tried to run us off the road, and Jared was scared for his life, and Lauren was screaming and cursing at them as she does. So that's a really special moment for me too, and we had my company president with Lauren in the car with her driving. It was just an absolute riot. I think that wraps up West Palm Beach. Anything else we have to touch there, fellas? Anything that comes to your minds?
If we're still talking about 2022, if this is okay, I have to share one of my favorite just banana ball memories in general. So after game 2 of 2022, we were
day game.
Yes, we played the day game because there was a spring training game happening that night. But
Astros Cardinals, yeah.
We came out on top because there was a downpour, and their game got canceled, but Banana Ball was still able to be experienced in its full glory. And so while we're up on this patio eating dinner and the rain starts to come down pouring, we all are like, we gotta get out of here. This is like really bad rain. It's raining sideways. And so one of the stadium attendees was like, hey, everybody go, like, let's file into a few of these suites. And so in the very first one that we go into, we open the door, and it's like a small family is just in this suite trying to enjoy themselves. And there are 2 little kids sitting on a chair. One's on their iPad. The other's watching Naruto on their television. And I can just imagine being this little kid just sitting there, doesn't care about baseball, trying to watch Naruto. And then when all of a sudden, like 60 drunk people just pour into this room, and it is shoulder to shoulder, and we're all just like chatting and laughing and drinking and cheering. I was watching these kids just sit there in horror as they found out the true definition of anxiety. I will never, ever forget that.
That's really good work, Chad. That's really, really good work. Yes, I remember that clear as day now. It was one of the crazier storms I've ever experienced. Raining sideways, full deluge, felt like it was a hurricane. And yeah, one of their attendees brought us in, and the parents were pretty gung-ho. Like, we were taking shots with the parents and stuff. But the kids, those poor kids. Yeah, that was a legendary experience right there. Really, really good stuff. Okay, a couple things that I'd like to touch on as we're close to, I think, our self-imposed time limit of hour-ish that we'd like. We can't have people waiting all day for these podcasts. A tease. Now I'm going to do a tease. Josh, did you prepare a song to close out the podcast about West Palm Beach?
So it was something that was asked of me, apparently.
Correct.
So yes, I whipped it up in probably like 15 minutes.
All right, beautiful. That's coming. That's to come. But before that, Josh, you have started wearing blue light glasses in the off season. You've gotten me to buy blue light glasses. I've worn them one day and I felt great about it and continue to forget until then. But you gave me a blue light glasses testimonial that I think the world has to hear.
Yeah, so I've started wearing blue light glasses, and let me tell you right now, my entire life has literally transformed in front of my very eyes, and for the better, I might add. I mean, off the rip, my eyes don't hurt when I go home. The first 2 weeks of being in the office,
That's big.
I had no blue light glasses. I go home, and my eyes feel just dry. Like, I want to take out my contacts so bad. I want to put on my regular glasses. I honestly, like, I'm putting in tons of eye drops. I just want to go to sleep. I don't like seeing. I don't like it. And now I don't suffer any of those consequences. My eyes feel so refreshed. I've got the youthful eyes of a young, starry-eyed lad in grade school again. And here's the thing. Confidence-wise, I'm through the roof. I mean, this thing has just improved my life dramatically. I'm not afraid to go and do things on my own at all. And if I'm just going to go out by myself, I'm going to do it. And when we talk about just the confidence with women, I don't understand it, but something about blue light glasses they really respond to. So I want to thank, I don't know, the company, something like Clear Eye, Clearview. I don't know. I'm gonna have to double check. I got them off of Amazon, but I can't endorse them any better. They have radically transformed my life. I'm so confident. Yeah. Thank you very much.
And see, I wanted the world to hear that. One, in case other people have a job where they stare at a screen for 8 hours a day and it's actually hurting them. And this literally sounds like we are doing our first ever podcast advertisement. Clearly, in episode 1 of the Rain Delay podcast, we do not have any sponsors. But whatever this clear view or whatever your thing is, if you're listening to this, if somehow this gets into the hands of the company, I don't think there's a better possible not sponsor. The other thing, when you have a sponsorship
representative,
you are
the endorsee.
Yeah,
something like that. Close enough.
Spokesperson.
Yes,
spokesperson is what I wanted. Yeah, I don't think there's
like the George Foreman
spokesperson. Right. For these blue light glasses, you are the best possible spokesperson in the world.
I'm the George Foreman of these glasses.
Great. Terrific. Yeah, you're the to Patrick Mahomes to State Farm is you to blue light glasses.
Yeah, close enough. That's okay.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot.
I'm the Russell Wilson of Subway. Well, I think I lost myself in trying to apply the analogy there.
That's okay. We both kind of flubbed our analogies, but they make sense in a sort. The George Foreman one was the best, and I should have never tried to add on to that. So I'm really happy for you. I personally have never had problem looking at screens for the entirety of my day, but I know the statistics, I know the facts, and my father being a scientist, or a teacher of science, I believe I can call him a scientist as well. I believe in science myself and think that I probably will be helping myself out if I'm wearing these blue light glasses. So although I'm not feeling the firsthand effects that you have and these things are not going to completely transform my life, I don't think, I have purchased them as well and will wear them when I can remember to, which so far I'm like 1 for 7 on.
You'll be a real hit at any social engagement you attend.
It's great news. It's really great news. Okay, so I'm glad the world has heard your blue light glasses testimonial. There was a quick one. I don't think we have to spend a lot of time on this, but you guys mentioned Helen, Georgia, and Chad, I believe. You were driving through and you saw a lot of vote for Josh signs. I don't know if we ever learned anything more about that, if Josh has unknowingly been running for office. I don't think there was a last name involved or even what, part of government this Josh is trying to get. But I think it is intriguing that people are rallying behind Josh in Helen, Georgia.
Well, today is election day. We are recording this.
Oh yeah, happy election day!
So
happy election day
to
boys.
you and yours.
Yeah,
Yes.
it only makes sense that no matter where you are, vote for Josh.
Correct.
That's
I couldn't
kind of
agree
what
more.
I walked away with from my Helen, Georgia experience.
Perfect. And I've heard it's like a little German town, but in Georgia.
Oh yeah, real
beautiful.
great. Cuts through a river, built on that. I used to go there all the time as a kid and just kind of tube down the river, and it's a magical place. Honestly, I haven't been in quite some time.
Quaint
All right, maybe a
houses.
little boys trip to Helen, Georgia. How far is it from Savannah? You guys know?
Oh,
It was a long drive,
Far.
dude. Yeah, at least 250 miles.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe we'll see. Okay, maybe it happens. I don't know.
Worth it though. Worth the trip.
That also reminds me, I actually meant to do this at the top of the podcast. I have to apologize to both of you, my podcast mates here, for double booking today and not being able to record our podcast at the allotted time. I had committed to a full day out on the town with, once again, a recurring mentionee on this podcast, my fiance Lauren. We went to the MoMA today, the Museum of Modern Art, and then also went to a French restaurant for a nice little French meal. I will say, the MoMA, I'm a changed man. I mean, my brain, I have absorbed so much information and knowledge and art that this is, if we had done the podcast before I went to the MoMA, it would have had a completely different performance for me. But anyhow, this is my sincere apology to you guys. Just a classic Biko mistake there. And to compound that classic Biko mistake, I forgot to bring my wallet into the city today. So I was going to treat Lauren to a really nice day out in Manhattan, but instead she paid for our parking. She paid for both our tickets at the MoMA and also for our absolutely delicious lunch at this French bistro. So it's just a classic Biko day right there.
dude, I love using that strategy with the girls I'm seeing. Oh no, I forgot my wallet again. Hey, can you get this? Like, yeah, that rules.
Josh, this is why you're the only person in this group to not have a girlfriend.
Oh!
Zing!
Where are these sound effects? I got to get access to these sound effects. I'll figure that out next episode. There's something that could have been done there.
Yeah. The one.
That's the one. You're
like a young SVP.
oh, yeah, nice.
Oh, yeah.
My Uncle Mark once, taking my Grandma Sarah out for a Mother's Day brunch, forgot his wallet, and they were like 2 minutes away from the house. Like, I'd literally just gotten down the driveway, and he was like, oh my gosh, I forgot my wallet. And my grandma obviously was like, oh, we can turn around and grab it. And he's like, no, it's fine. I don't want to waste time. So then she bought their Mother's Day lunch. It always works. It always works.
Yeah, it's got its charm to it.
It's a great grift. I would like to move into the shout-out portion of our podcast today, and I would like to shout out Carson Bowen, Carspodstagram, as the people know him, as he warned Josh and I not to become a part of a statistic, which is that I think over 25% of podcasts don't make it past one episode.
I want to say it was 45%.
We'll go with that.
That's a bonkers
yeah, so
stat.
Carson, we possibly would have never made another episode if we hadn't got that Monday motivation from Carson, and we are not a part of that statistic. We're proud to be able to say that.
I was thinking about calling it quits. Well, now we can retire. Now we can retire. Way to go, guys.
I would love to do some really quick baseball season cleanup. My Texas Rangers, my beloved Texas Rangers, who when we started watching the playoffs in the control room, I would like this to be on record. I said this team has the goods to do it all. They are going to take down these Rays. They're going to be a problem in the postseason. They carried me to a fantasy baseball championship. I had 5 of their starting 9 in my lineup when it comes to offensive fellas. And boy, oh boy, did they do it. They ended what was the longest drought for a team that did not have a World Series championship in Major League Baseball. So congratulations to Cowboy Kyle, a diehard Texas Rangers fan, and everybody in the Rangers fan club there.
How can you just abandon your Yankees like that? Saying
they
they're
stink,
your
and
Texas Rangers.
Correct. The
Who in their
82
right
and 80
mind
Yankees
would do that?
Oh, I'm
Does
very happy to
fandom
jump
mean
ship.
nothing to you?
When I'm coming to the playoffs, I would love to adopt a team when my team stinks. And I adopted the Rangers, and I was not as happy as I would have been if the Yankees were in the playoffs. I did not feel an ounce of the stress. I actually would have been happy if the Diamondbacks won, because they were a very fun team as well, and it was thrilling to see what they did in Game 6 and 7 in Citizens Bank. Sorry, Ivan Trezak, who will be a guest on our podcast in 2 episodes, talk about a tease, when we talk about Jacksonville. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed the Rangers, and if I had to pick a team at the start to win it, they were going to be it, and they did, and I got some joy out of that.
Cute.
Sue me. Sue me.
Mark my words, I will never, ever call another Major League Baseball franchise that isn't the Atlanta Braves my team ever. Ever.
That's a handshake between two diehard Braves fans right there. Yeah, sounds like some sour grapes after somebody's squad got knocked out by the Phillies in back-to-back division series.
Yeah, not a good time. That's all I got to say on it.
Yeah, no doubt about that. You don't want to explain what it was like. Did you watch any of those games with Ivan?
I watched the elimination game with Ivan.
It must have been a tough scene.
Yeah, it was tough going through it, but Ivan handled. And this is what I've honestly got to shout him out for. If there's any time to do it, it's now. I commend him so much for the way that he handled the entire situation. They got the final out. They struck out Von Grissom. They had moved on to the championship series. He didn't even celebrate in the house. I've got like my head in my hands. I'm just sitting there in the position of defeat on the floor. And he walked out the front door and celebrated and screamed outside rather than in front of me. And honestly, that really stands out to me, and I appreciated that.
He's a big man for that. He's a big man. From somebody who was jeering you when the Phillies were having their wild card series, when they weren't even playing the Braves. Things were getting a little contentious there at the Trezak household. For no reason, except for that he's a Phillies fan. Yeah, he's a Philly fan. You got to expect that from him. That's a real 180 from Ivan, and I'm proud to have brought him into the organization for that moment alone. That's pretty special stuff right there. Once again, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm very happy for my Texas Rangers, my postseason team, who I'm in love with because they won me a fantasy baseball championship, and then they got a World Series championship of their own. I like to see droughts end, It's fun. They were a franchise they had never won. It wasn't to the magnitude, obviously, of the Cubs. It wasn't close to the magnitude of that legendary fan base. But still, seeing all the videos of the lifetime Rangers fans celebrating in all their unique ways and all these dads just crying and, explaining to their kids. The one that was hilarious was, you seem more emotional than when your child was born. He's like, well, I've known him for 23 years. I've known the Rangers my whole life.
Beautiful.
That's awesome.
Poetry.
Yeah. It is.
Brings out the best in men.
Yeah, it does. Congratulations. Baseball and Banana Ball brings out the best in men. That's a perfect tagline for us. Okay, I think we've covered just about all the bases we can here. We will be doing, of course, Daytona Beach on our next episode, which will be coming out this week. This will be our first ever 2-episode week of the Rain Delay podcast, and we will have a very, very, very special guest, the first ever guest in Rain Delay podcast history.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I think it's going to be a good time. It's a very, 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 very. It's a very special guest. It's a very special guest.
It's going to be
the special guest.
Yes. Correct. It is. It's an insanely special.
It's a really cool guest. I like this guest.
Yes, we're fired up about it. If you can't tell, It is somebody who has a very powerful social media game and can hopefully boost our social media game and listening tenfold. That is not the number one reason why we're having him on. We're having him on because we love him and he has a lot that he can share about Daytona. But the numbers, they don't hurt his case. They don't hurt this person, possibly a banana ball player's case, for being our first ever guest.
The stats like the guy. He's got good advanced metrics.
Correct. Chad Reese, any closing remarks from you on our episode 1 of the revamped Rain Delay podcast?
Don't we have an email?
Oh, Chad, that's why you're the coordinating producer. We do. It is the Rain Delay Cast at gmail.com. The Rain Delay Cast at gmail.com. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, things you would like us to discuss, send us an email there. I set it up. Chad, you're a rock star.
We couldn't get pod or podcast, but we got cast, you know? The little things. Little wins.
The Rain Delay Cast. Correct. We obviously tried the Rain Delay Podcast. We tried Rain Delay Podcast. We tried the Rain Delay Pod. We tried Rain Delay Pod. And then we got the Rain Delay Cast. And that's going to do. Some people say the fifth option's the best option. So
yeah, fifth time's the charm. That was the original old adage.
Correct. Also, real quick one. This is just a special thing for Chad. I watched Donnie Darko last night for the first time in my life. I don't know if you've seen it, but I feel like that could be right up a Chad Reese alley.
Movie's weird.
I loved it. Is it just weird?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't get it.
Well, did you read about it afterwards? Did you just watch it and not read?
I don't really have strong opinions on it. I wasn't like blown away by it. I thought it was cool. Thought it was weird.
Yeah.
I liked the bunny
Cult
guy.
classic.
The
Love
line
the
about
rabbit.
like why are you in that weird human suit is a great line. But I don't know. It never really like gripped me, I guess. So, but I watched it back in like high school.
I was gripped.
So maybe if I gave it
gripped me
another
hard.
view,
Josh,
I'd appreciate it a little bit more. But I don't know. I was
Josh,
very
have you ever
confused.
seen Donnie Darko?
I've seen bits and pieces. I've never seen it in full, and I'll admit that.
Yeah.
I like Jake Gyllenhaal better in other movies. I liked him in Zodiac. I thought he was good in Zodiac.
Okay, I got to watch Zodiac.
He's great in
maybe that'll be
Nightcrawler
next.
also.
Nightcrawler's incredible.
Oh,
so,
and
you know,
Bubble
I was
Boy.
thinking about,
He rules in Bubble Boy.
Ooh, there we go.
have not seen Bubble Boy.
It's kind of
Intriguing.
a dumb movie.
If you just search like Donnie Darko explanation, there's an explanation on the Donnie Darko website. It makes sense once you, and for me it did.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. A movie is art, and art is open to our own interpretation. So they can tell me all they want about what Donnie Darko is really about, but at the end of the day, guess what? It's my interpretation, bub.
That's pretty strong of you. Way to be your own person, Josh. Yes, I mean when I watched it, I was pretty sure I kind of had it, but I will accept the explanation that I've read on the internet, as it explained a lot of things better than my tiny little brain could comprehend. I was gripped. Chad. It had me gripped from start to finish, and I think it was the bunny. The bunny really had me locked in.
Mm-hmm. It's one of Kate's personal favorites, so maybe I'll give it a
there
rewatch,
it is.
and I'll update you on what I think this time. You know what? Next episode, I'll have given Donnie Darko a rewatch, and I'll give you a full analysis on what I really think about it all these years later. Right? Because I'm in
Beautiful.
control. That's
Chad,
a Chad Reese promise.
Yeah. Do you have any homework for me? Is there anything I should be watching before next podcast, which is in 2 days?
I think so, but I was thinking about CPL stories and stuff like that, and how I think the most fun that I had during that summer was when we were all watching The Rehearsal as it came out, and I'm really excited for us to all do that again with Nathan Fielder's new show, The Curse. I don't know when it comes out, but once that does start rolling out, like I would love if all three of us started watching that.
I think it's coming soon. We've already stated our what we have gotten as far as inspiration from It's Always Sunny, Nathan Fielder, between The Rehearsal, and obviously Nathan For You has offered us a lot of inspiration as well in just the way to create comedy and also legitimate ideas. Like when I got Nana Karen to kiss Josh because Josh had to say everything that I said in Josh's ears.
Yeah, that was
just a full rip from Nathan For You.
What a crazy time to be alive, huh?
Beautiful, and a perfect way to parlay into your West Palm Beach song. Josh, what do you have for us, buddy?
Okay, so you guys asked me to prepare a song. We obviously closed our episode 0 with Green Day's Good Riddance.
Yep.
So figured we'd write an original song this time. We're not going to do a cover.
Can't get sued for that.
We're going to write an original song. So this is titled West Palm Beach Song. It's by Tosh. It's by Tosh Talevski, because all good artists use pseudonyms. No, I think I'll be able to do this. I would call this song a ditty of sorts, and it has 4 verses.
Perfect.
I hope you guys are ready.
Verses I've heard for a song.
I'm
ready.
I'm gonna hopefully not lose my way through this song. I recorded it in my car last night to make sure I wouldn't forget like the melody, everything.
Okay. Is it to a tune or is it completely original?
I just made it up in my head.
All right. It's not Weird Al. Okay.
No, it's not like a
Tosh Talevski original. Correct.
Yeah.
All right. Terrific.
And hopefully it's not like one of those situations where it's one of those melodies I didn't realize I was ripping somebody off, and then they come after me and sue me, and then this podcast gets shut down, and
right.
Well, there went all our big plans and dreams up in flames.
Well, we've gotten 2 episodes in, so we're playing with house money at this point.
Right.
What do you got, Josh?
Okay, here we go. West Palm Beach Song. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Big things are in store. We're starting the tour, leaving the peach to see beautiful West Palm Beach. We ride on Al's bus, knowing the show's gonna plus, and that each city will be good to us. A banana ball made the hall, and Tim Kurkjian saw the spaceman again. Ryan Cox did a trick, and the games, they were quick. While the fireball pitch got some clicks. Big things are in store, we're starting the tour, leaving the peach to see beautiful West Palm Beach. We ride on Al's bus, knowing the show's gonna plus, and that each city will be good to us. No, it wasn't a rumor, the first homer was hit by the boomer. Dalton Malden played hero, and the crowd, they did cheero! While the sprints in game 1 there were 0. Game 2 gave us showdowns, the fans hyped, they made loud sounds. The party animals were victors. It's true, I've got pictures! Which team wins the tour? I'm not sure I'll be able to predict her. Big things are in store, we're starting the tour, leaving the peach to see beautiful West Palm Beach. We ride on Al's bus, knowing the show's gonna plus, and that each city will be good to us. Well, the pizza's all eaten, and these memories remain unbeaten. Chad, Josh, and Biko think the BTV casts were muy rico. That means rich, mis amigos. We had fun, and I have no more to speak o. Big things are in store, we're starting the tour, leaving the peach to see beautiful West Palm Beach. We ride on Al's bus, knowing the show's gonna plus, and that each city will be good to us. Thank you.
And that is how you close down a podcast. We'll see you all on Friday. See you later!
I love my blue light glasses.